So West Ham's season has been somewhat inconsistent so far, but there are signs of improvement for some West Ham fans. Samir Nasri might be on his way to the football club, but the future of Declan Rice is up in the air. I'm joined by Nicky from West Ham Fan TV. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good, Flav. You?
Yeah, I'm good. So tell me a little bit about West Ham this season. From an outwards perspective, it kind of looks like they're a bit stop-start, had some good results, but some poor results as well, but playing decent football.
Yeah, I think that's the basis of what we've looked at in the last couple of years has been very poor. Since Pellegrini's coming in, do you know what? Somebody asked me last night on a radio show, what do you rate your start? I've got to say a 6. It's just above average because the football is starting to improve. But some of the results haven't come, Flav. But you have to earn the right to get them results. I don't think we quite have yet. So inconsistent. We look like world beaters one week, and then the next week we look like a pile of rubbish, to be quite honest with you. We've been unlucky with injuries. We've played a lot of the top 6 sides already. And then we've got a run of games coming up now where we should start to pick up some points, as long as we're consistent.
There's some odd news about Samir Nasri coming. When I saw that, I was pretty kind of interested by it because obviously he's coming off of the 18-month ban for doping, I guess. Played under Pellegrini before. What was your initial reaction to that news?
I'm shocked, mate, to be honest with you. I mean, we saw the likes of Evra come in last year on a similar sort of thing, ban, free agent and all that sort of stuff. Wasn't particularly struggling in the position he came in. This year we are struggling for midfielders a little bit. Wilshere coming, he's obviously carried on his injury nightmare from he had at Arsenal. We've lost a couple of key midfielders, Sanchez and Yarmolenko, who's a creative midfielder, which we're really lacking at the minute with Lanzini going down in the summer. But it's an odd one for me because, to be honest with you, a lot of people said to me it's the most West Ham signing ever. You know what I mean? And I can see what they're saying because it stinks of a Sullivan signing to me. And if I thought that was the case, I would be up in arms over it. But it's someone Pellegrini's worked with. And if it's someone the manager wants, then you have to trust the manager who obviously knows his abilities, knows his qualities. And yeah, look, it is what it is. It's free transfer, a lot of money per week in wages. But if Pellegrini thinks it's a risk worth taking, then it's a risk worth taking. And you know, as long as they back the manager, I'm all for it.
Yeah, it's been mooted that it's going to be an £80,000 a week signing if that does happen. But it's a bit of an odd one because at the moment there seems to be some sort of sticking point over the contract for Declan Rice. He's reported to want £40,000 a week, which is, you know, a lot for a 19-year-old, somewhat unproven, although rapidly increasingly decent footballer. But currently on 3k a week, if the reports are to be believed. What's the deal there? Is it a case of just giving him the money he wants?
I think it is. Yeah, I think his standpoint is that, you know, he plays week in, week out. He's one of our most consistent performers. His star rises every week. He's learning the game. At the moment, he's one of the hot prospects in the country. He's recently, converted to be an England international, which would tell me that, Gareth Southgate has spoken to him and he will be involved in an England squad in the near future. And everything's, the ball's in his court sort of thing. The contract is running out. I think he'll be free to speak to people at the end of the season if he doesn't. And the way he plays week in, week out, he's in today's market, I hate to say it, but he's a 30-40 million pound player. Now, 30-40 million pounds worth of talent, no, but age and the fact that he's English is on his side, and someone like Man City wouldn't bat an eyelid at paying that sort of money for him. So he knows that he's got the ball in his court. He's obviously got a bit of a mercenary agent, but I can see where he's coming from, to be honest with you. Look, I'm not going to complain. It's not my money. Yeah. If they want to give him £40,000 a week, that's not coming out of my pocket. So, for me, he's worth £40,000 a week in today's market. I know he's only 19, but at the end of the day, he plays week in, week out. And you see people like Nasri coming in on £80,000 a week, who hasn't played for a year and a half, who's just completed a ban for doping. He was playing for Atlaspor in Turkey. Not exactly one of Europe's elite. So, if you're looking at people like him commanding £80,000 a week and West Ham paying it, why wouldn't they pay Declan Rice £40,000 a week? Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, there's there's some kind of miscommunication or misunderstanding about his contract. Like, according to the agent, there's no a clause in his contract which enabled West Ham to extend it for another year. But according to the club, there is a clause. So they must be both looking at the same contracts. As your understanding is that he's out of contract at the end of the season?
Well, as far as I understand it is, but if West Ham are playing hardball like they are playing hardball, then I would suggest that there would be a clause in the contract to extend it for another year, because they're playing a dangerous game if they're not. I believe if your contract's running out, that you can speak to clubs in January and you can agree a preliminary transfer then. So, we're getting very close to that point. So West Ham must know what they're looking at. They're going to have solicitors looking at it. It's a lot of money for them to lose. And I know that the owners that we've got, they don't like to lose money. So they must know what they're doing. But they'll end up paying it. We'll end up paying it. He'll end up accepting it, unless something crazy comes along in the meantime.
How good is he?
For the fact that the club's very good. He's a Rolls Royce of a player. He's really good. He reminds me a little bit in the midfield. He played very well at centre half, but playing in midfield has really shown. I mean, he's had a couple of full international caps with Ireland. He's been man of the match in about 3 of the 4 games he's played with them. Week in, week out, he's so consistent. He reminds me of a young Michael Carrick. He's one of them players that he breaks up play, and he just looks like he's got an eternity to pass the ball, which was what Carrick was very good at. The composure, the timing. He learns week in, week out. He'll make a mistake as a youngster. He made a mistake last week against Huddersfield. He made a mistake, but he'll learn from that. He made an horrendous mistake last year at Newcastle. As a young kid, everyone thought he was going to go in his shell, come back bigger and better. He's a Rolls Royce of a player. You mentioned the club there and the decisions they're making, and the board. Obviously, went through some difficult times last year. Lots of acrimony at West Ham during match days. It looks to have backed their manager in the summer. Spent a lot of money talking about Nasri. Probably will get Declan Rice to sign a contract in the end. How do you feel about the club's ownership at the moment? I feel like it was false, Flab, because I think if the Burnley game hadn't happened last year, if everything that happened at Burnley hadn't culminated the way it did, I think they would have tried to long it out for as long as they could without spending anything. And I think we could have been looking at another sort of situation that we had last year. But I always said I'll give credit when credit's due, and I'm not a big fan of the owners, and I never have been a big fan of the owners, but I've got to give credit where credit's due. They've put their hand in their pocket. They've got a manager that backed him. They seem to be listening to him. The football's improving. The stadium's improving slowly but surely. Look, I ain't got no complaints this year, but I've forgiven. I've not forgotten.
Good. And who have been the standout players for you this season? I'd like to look at Anderson lately. Declan Rice for sure. Goalkeeper Fabianski's been quality. Who for you has been your kind of standout player, the biggest success you've had?
Well, I think Arnie's our standout player at the moment. But, Anderson's starting to come good, although I don't think he's consistent enough. He can look like a well-beater 1 week and then he has 2 weeks off. Fabianski, for me, has been the signing of the summer, for sure. It's been such a long time since we've had I wouldn't like to say reliable, but I'm going to use that word, reliable goalkeeper, because Joe Hart he was terrible. Adrian, good goalkeeper, likeable character, but prone to a mistake. You never knew what was going to happen. He's going to fly out of his box or he's going to make a superb save. Fabianski's solid. He's just what we needed. He commands his area well. He commands his defence well. But I've got to say, the 2 centre-halves that have come in, and Diop and Balbuena, they get better every week I see them. Honestly, they get better every week I see them. Balbuena especially, because I went to see them in pre-season. They looked a bit iffy. I was thinking, oh God, they've got a mistake in them. But the pair of them, Balbuena especially, has been absolute rock. And Diop just gets better and better every time. He's a youngster. He's got a big future ahead of him for sure. We need to keep hold of these players, man, and we need to sort of start to look away from signing the Samir Nasris and sign someone with a bit of a future rather.
Yeah, Diop came with a lot of pedigree, though, to be fair. I mean, there's always a risk coming from France, but he'd in and around the French squad. He captained, is it Toulouse he came from?
to lose, yeah.
Yeah, 21. So you kind of, while there's a risk with that, you can understand why West Ham made that signing. Balbuena, though, is that's a mad one, isn't it? Because 3.5 million today's money is nothing. It might as well be a free transfer, and for him to come in and settle into the side, you know, it's been impressive. And you know, you look at the business that West Ham have done, and you look at the start of the season when things weren't going that well, but you had a really torrid start in terms of the Premier League fixtures. It was going to always take time for these players to bed in, and it seems to me, from an outwards perspective, and I know you're not getting results every week, that there are shoots of something very positive going on at West Ham, and I think you've got the right manager and right playing staff. But all that taken into consideration, where do you think you'll finish at the end of the season, Nick?
Not as high as many of the Tottenham forums have got me posted saying.
Yeah, I've seen
that.
For
sure.
Look, you've got to be brave, Nick.
There's
no point going into your football club being all pessimistic and that. It's like, don't worry what people are saying on the internet. For me, I think Spurs are going to win the league every year.
Look. We just signed all these players, and Spurs hadn't signed anyone, and I was getting a bit excited and carried away with myself. I'm not a plonker, as many of them would like to. I just got a bit carried away. That was the
There's nothing wrong with that.
I put mine on the line. Quite honest with you. Yeah. Anyway, eighth. I think we'll come eighth. I think the fixtures between now and December, although we got a draw at Huddersfield, if we start to hit a bit of consistent form, we've got Man City when we come back. Then all the way to the end of Christmas, we've got teams in and around us. If we can start picking up some points here, and the rest start to play the tough fixtures that we had at the beginning, I think we'll do all right, Flav. I think we'll start climbing up the table soon.
All right, Nicky, thank you very much for giving us your time, pal. And as much as I've got no time for West Ham, I've got a lot of time for you. If you're a West Ham fan and you're watching this, make sure you go over to West Ham Fan TV and subscribe. And if you're not, and you just like seeing honest blokes talk about football, the Post-Match Pint is a quality piece of content. Until next time, please hit subscribe and like and comment in the comments below. Let us know what you think of West Ham this season.